Hello everyone, this is LB3 and I am back again with another draft video. It is finally the start of the new college football season, and with that, a new series of videos for the channel. In this series, we'll be taking a look at the top draft matchups in college football games every week. In this first video, we will be taking a look at the top matchups between draft prospects in week 1 of the 2019 college football season. This will be a weekly series, so if you think there's someone I missed, let me know in the comments. And if there's someone specific you'd like to see in the next week, also put that in the comments, and I'll keep an eye out. With all of that in mind, let's take a look at the first matchup. The first matchup we're taking a look at is quarterback Jacob Eason versus Eastern Washington. I am sure that some of you are wondering why a matchup against Eastern Washington is one of the top 5 draft matchups of the week. And to answer that is simple, and that's in the fact that this will be the first meaningful football that Easton has played since the 2016 season. As someone that is seen as a bit of a dark horse first-round quarterback, he needs to have a strong showing early on to continue that conversation. In 2016, he had issues with staring down receivers, poor intermediate and deep accuracy, and questionable decision-making overall. He has flashes with his prototypical build, strong arm, and quick release, but the mental aspects of his game need some work. And even if he improves on the mental aspects, he also needs to improve on his accuracy, which can be very tough for a quarterback to do as it's very ingrained in fundamentals. This first game, he needs to show some serious improvement from his 2016 tape to be taken seriously as a top draft prospect. If he does show improvement, though, he can quickly play himself into top 50 pick consideration, potentially even into a first-round pick. Tua and Herbert are the top 2 quarterbacks right now, but there's definitely a third spot up for grabs, and Eason can take that. Now moving on to our second matchup of the week, this one is a little bit different. While most of the video clips that you'll see are of one prospect, there are 3 prospects in this game that I think are worth keeping an eye on. That would be the Vanderbilt offensive trio, which consists of wide receiver Kalijah Lipscomb, running back Keyshawn Vaughn, and tight end Jared Pinkney. All 3 of these players were eligible for the 2019 draft, but decided to return to school to try to improve their draft stock. This first game against Georgia is a great chance to show everything they've got and prove that it was a good decision to return to school. Lipscomb will likely be a slot receiver at the next level, but shows good hands technique and an above-average football IQ, which can help convince an NFL team to take a chance on him. Vaughn is a solid running back that takes what is given to him. He won't be drafted high as other running backs who may have more dynamic talent, but for a team just looking for solid running back depth, he is a good option. Pinkney has an opportunity to be the top tight end taken in what is going to be, or what is at least looking like, a very weak tight end class, and a good start in Georgia would be a big boost to his stock. Something to keep in mind when watching this game is how much the NFL weighs performance in big-time games. With a strong showing against Georgia and its stout defense, these 3 players could establish themselves in the mind of NFL scouts. Next, let's take a look at one of the biggest matchups of the week, which is Justin Herbert versus the Auburn pass rush. Herbert is arguably the top quarterback in the class and has a nice test in the first game of the season to prove that he's grown since last year when he decided to go back to school. Herbert, like Eason, is tall with a big arm, although he's a good bit more athletic and a pretty good threat as a runner. Herbert has a lot of really gorgeous throws on tape. However, his accuracy can be a bit erratic, and he has trouble stringing together consistent drives down the field. Also, of course, of interest in this game is the Oregon offensive line versus the Auburn pass rush. The Oregon O-line is one of the best in the country, and they will have their hands full early on in the season with Auburn, who has Derek Brown and a couple of other guys who are at least solid contributors. But even on his own, Derek Brown would be a handful, so it goes both ways, seeing how he can do against one of the best O-lines he will face this year. Herbert has some of the highest highs of any quarterback in the class, and he has plenty of games to prove himself, but it is best to do it in the first one, and that can keep momentum going rather than having to scramble to try and make up for a bad first game. NFL teams with quarterback needs will be watching this game very closely. Moving on to something not quite as exciting, but still very worthwhile, is Patty Fisher versus Michigan State. With a solid O-line, running back, and a veteran quarterback, Fisher will have his work cut out for him to be an impact player in this game. With the way the NFL is trending, it is looking like Fisher is the opposite of what the NFL is currently looking for in linebackers, despite the fact that he is a tackling machine. He has to show that he has the athleticism and instinct, especially in the passing game, to contribute to an NFL roster on passing downs. Now, it is unlikely he has gotten more athletic, and that was one of my main concerns regarding him, but there will always be teams that love their thumper-style linebackers, and Fisher just needs to continue to endear himself to them with his aggressive play style, smarts, and great tackling ability, and he's a shoo-in to stick around. Just like all of the other players, making a good first impression can be key, and Michigan State is good enough to give Fisher a chance to strut his stuff. The final matchup we will be taking a look at this week is Mekhi Becton, the Louisville offensive tackle, versus the Notre Dame edge rushers, which consists of Julian Okwara and a couple other really good players. Becton has generated some buzz as a potential developmental tackle, or even something more than that, if he took big strides this season. Something very intriguing about Becton, which you will see in the clips, is that in 2018, as they also did in 2017, Louisville had its offensive tackles frequently switching sides, which you'll notice looking at his number, which is 73. This means he has a lot of experience on both the right and left, which NFL teams probably love. However, that may have kept him from becoming a master on either side in particular, which is where the good news continues, as with the coaching staff that may be changing. It will be one of the things I'm sure to keep an eye on in this matchup. Overall, though, I'll be keeping an eye on Becton, a 6'7", 350-pound behemoth. He reportedly lost 20 pounds in this past season and is focused very heavily on his technique, especially focusing on his footwork, which was honestly very bad in 2018, so that's good to hear. Notre Dame is loaded at edge rushers and has a couple of guys who will be a good test for the hopefully lighter-footed Becton. This offensive tackle class has a couple of studs and then a lot of guys who are more potential, and few have as much to prove as Becton. A good week one could even start putting Becton into late first-round conversation, although he have to show quicker feet and better overall technique. Alright, those are the top 5 matchups that I will be keeping an eye on in week 1 of college football. If I missed a good matchup, don't hesitate to comment it, and I will be sure to check it out if I have time. I plan on doing these videos weekly throughout the season, so if there are any matchups you definitely want me to highlight in week 2, don't hesitate to comment those either. I always love to hear feedback and have some good draft conversations. If you like this video, then definitely subscribe, as I will have a lot more draft content coming to this channel throughout the college football season, and then on the lead up to the draft. This has been LB3. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Peace.